Hello, everybody. Brian Tulsa here. I am going on a trip, and you are going with me. And I'm going to give you the plan today. This is what is going to happen. This is how it's going to go down. To explain the trip, I think it's best to explain my original idea and a few things that I decided I couldn't do that led into what I've decided to do. The original plan was to go to the G.I. Joe convention assembly required in Des Moines, Iowa, and use that as kind of a launching pad to go to some other places before returning home. There are a few things that I wanted to do with that time, including going to Washington, D.C., going to a Patriots game, and going to Florida. With DC, last time I was there were a lot of things that I wanted to see but didn't, just because I didn't have the time. But this time I wanted to make sure I had plenty of time to see all of the things that I wanted to see in DC. The Patriots, I haven't been to a Patriots game in forever. And that weekend, the Patriots were going to be in North Carolina playing the Panthers on Sunday. And then, I just wanted to go to Florida. Florida would be warmer than it is here. So I thought it would be nice to experience some warmer weather in this time of the year. And I just like Florida. I haven't been there for a long time, so I thought it would be fun to go to Florida. But this plan did not work. It just didn't make sense for a few reasons. First of all, if I hit DC and then went to Carolina and then to Florida, geographically that would make the most sense. But it is a really long drive between DC and North Carolina, and North Carolina to Florida is a really long drive. And then I'd have to go home, and Florida to Oklahoma is very far indeed. So in order to do that trip and not spend too much time on it, I wanted to also minimize the amount of time that I was away from my daughter. So I can't do this over 3 weeks. There just isn't that much time. So if I were going to do the trip in a week or so, I was going to spend more time driving than actually experiencing the places that I go. And that's not what I wanted to do for the trip. It's just too far. It's just too much driving. So I had to scrap a few things. I had to scrap Florida. Florida is just too far from anything else that I wanted to see. And if I scrap Florida, then I would probably not be able to go to the Patriots game in Carolina. The timing didn't work out for that because assembly required is on Saturday. The Patriots game with Carolina is on Sunday. And it's just not practical to go from Des Moines to Charlotte in that amount of time. I guess it's possible, but that's a hard, long drive with not very much time. So that really wasn't going to work. So if I'm intent on going to a Patriots game and assembly required, then I can't go to that Patriots game. So the only option would be the next Patriots game, which is the following Sunday. So that wasn't going to work. So after a lot of thought and a lot of planning and trying to put things together and just make them work, I finally decided that I can't go to assembly required. Unfortunately, that one is just going to be out. The timing doesn't work. The distances don't work. So as much as I'd like to go to that, unfortunately, it just doesn't work. So if I'm not going to assembly required and I am going to a Patriots game, well, the next Patriots game is in Foxborough on Sunday afternoon. That means I need to go the following week. That means I was going to go starting this weekend and, traveling over the next week. Well, instead, I'm going to need to travel over the next week and the next weekend and then return home. So that changes everything. But it also solves some problems because I can make it to DC when everything's open. I can hit DC on Wednesday. The museums will be open. I'll be able to see the things that I intend to see. So after some figuring, some calculations, some complex mathematics, this is what I settled on. Instead of Des Moines, the first leg of the trip goes to Canton, Ohio, so I can visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's something I've always wanted to do. It's been on the bucket list. Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Now, I'm not going to be doing a lot else in Canton. It's really just for that purpose. So once I'm done with that, I can move on. The next stop will be in Washington, D.C., and I'll be there for a couple days, a couple solid days. And, with planning out my time well, I should be able to see the things that I would like to see. There's a lot there, but I've seen a lot of DC already. I don't necessarily have to revisit all the places I've already been, but I do want to go to the places that I haven't been. So DC will be a couple days, and it will be on days when things are actually open and I can see them. So after DC, my thought was then, okay, then we drive up to the Boston area for the Patriots game on Sunday. And it's not that far, really. It's a reasonable drive. But looking on a map, driving from D.C. to Boston, I would be going right by New York. And I thought, well, the way the timing works, I'm going to have an extra day. I could either spend that extra day in D.C. or I could spend the extra day in Boston. But if I'm going right by New York, why not just do that? So I made New York a stop on the trip. Now, this is the part that I really had to talk myself into because this is a road trip, right? And I found a place to stay in Manhattan, and that's driving in Manhattan and parking in Manhattan are not wise things to do. And they're not things that I really wanted to do. But my thought process was this. This trip is about doing things, not skipping things. This is why I'm spending so much time in DC, is because I'm trying to do the things that I previously had to skip because I didn't have the time. And if this trip is about doing things, and I have an opportunity to make a brief stop in New York, I need to go ahead and do it. If I don't do it, I don't know when I'll have an opportunity to do it again. So, yes, I talked myself into it. We're going to New York. We're going to Manhattan. And one of the first things I did after making sure I had a good hotel to stay in is make sure I had a place to park. So I was able to reserve a parking space in a garage. Yes, it's expensive, but it's near the hotel, and of course it's going to be expensive. It's New York. But once I get parked, though, I made sure that it's someplace that's secure. It'll be safe. My car will be safe. And I won't drive the rest of the time until it's time to leave. I guess I'm most nervous about that part of the trip, mainly because it's not planned as well as the rest of the trip, because it was sort of an afterthought, but also because it involves doing two things that I never wanted to do in New York, and that is drive and park. But I'm just going to do it, and we're just going to make the most of it. I'm not going to be there long enough to see all of the sights. I mean, I'll be able to get out for a bit, but I'm But again, this is about doing things and not skipping things. So I'm not skipping it. We're doing it. We're going to New York. After New York, it's north. We're going to the Boston area. I say the Boston area. The Boston area is really big. It's not Boston proper, but I'm staying in a place that's a little closer to the stadium because the plan is to go to the game. So I figured out parking at Gillette Stadium. Gillette Stadium does have a parking lot that you can use that is more or less free, but it's also a long walk to the stadium. Also, there's a time limit. They close the lot at a certain time, and then they don't reopen the lot so you can leave until like an hour and a half after the game. But that's fine. I don't have a problem with that because they have built up that area around the stadium a lot since I was there in 2005. So I'm looking forward to seeing just all the things that are new there. And they're not really new. It's just that I haven't been there for a long time. So they are new to me. I went to a Patriots game at Gillette Stadium in 2005. It was a Monday night football game hosting the Indianapolis Colts. And I always considered that to be a bit of bad luck because the Colts had not beaten the Patriots for like a million years before that. But the night that I'm there, the Colts win. The Colts beat the Patriots at home in Gillette. And I always blame myself. I'm the bad luck charm. And, hey, it's got to be me, right? When I'm not there, they win. When I'm there, they lose. So, unfortunately for the Patriots, the bad luck charm will be back. Good news for Browns fans, the bad luck charm for the Patriots will be there. So you've got a chance. You've got a real fighting chance this time. But we're going to go to the game. We're going to experience the stadium and all of the things that they've built around the stadium. We're gonna take the tour. We're gonna see as much of it as we possibly can. But after that, I've essentially done everything that I wanted to do with this trip. I've ticked all the boxes. I've seen all the things I intended to see. So then it's time to go home. And that's really far between Boston and Oklahoma. So I will be stopping in Indianapolis for a night, really just to divide the return trip to make it a little bit easier. Yeah, I could drive straight through, but I don't want to kill myself driving straight through. So we're going to stop in Indianapolis really just to rest, to take a night off, and then head back home and complete the trip the next day. And then we'll be home. I will be vlogging this whole thing. You will be going with me. I will show you as much as I possibly can. If you have seen some of those places before, maybe this will be a bit nostalgic for you. If you haven't been to those places before, maybe it'll be educational for you. I really hope you enjoy it, and I will do my best to get good video, to get good pictures, to make good commentary, to really make it an experience for myself and for you. If you would like to help with this trip, well, there's not really very much you can do, actually. But if you did want to help, probably the best way, if you felt like buying me a tank of gas, that could help a bit. I will put my Patreon, I will put my PayPal email address on the screen right now. So if you feel like sending a PayPal, tank of gas, feel free to do that. And if not, don't worry about it. Just go along with me and enjoy the trip. The trip is going to be happening no matter what. It's a done deal. It is going to happen, and I just hope that we have a good time. So that's all that I have. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the journey.